Our gospel reading today. Do you know what it is? What's it about?
Weeds.
The parable of the weeds. That's right. Just making sure you're already paying attention from our sacred story time. All right. This is Matthew 13, 24 through 30, and then 36 through 43. Jesus put before them another parable. The kingdom of heaven may be compared to someone who sowed good seed in his field. But while everybody was asleep, an enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and then went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared as well. And the slaves of the householder came and said to him, "Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where then did these weeds come from?" He answered, "An enemy has done this." So the slave said to him, "Then do you want us to go and gather them?" But he replied, "No, for in gathering the weeds you would uproot the wheat along with them. Let both of them grow together until the harvest. And at harvest time I will tell the reapers, collect the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn." Then he left the crowds and went into the house. And his disciples approached him saying, Jesus, explain to us the parable of the weeds of the field." He answered, "The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed are the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels." See, we didn't realize all that, right? Just as the weeds are collected and burned up with fire, so will it be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will collect out of his kingdom all causes of sin and all evildoers, and they will throw them into the furnace of fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Let anyone with ears listen. Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
All right, so for those of you who are visiting with us, so glad that you're here. And this is a second parable. We're in a series about these three different parables of growing different seed. So the second parable of this series of growing God's field brings us to the parable of the weeds in the field. So if we are using our own field out here as our real life sermon illustration, I think this is the parable that resonates most with us. I mean, often when the grass is high, all we notice when we look out there are the weeds. But if you've ever walked that field, you know there is so much more than weeds. The gophers love our field. Now, this took place during our yard sale and next to Andy's feet. Now, we also have snakes who love our field. Don't worry, no video of that or I would not be in here. They have occasionally made their way onto the playground. And over the years, the preschool has even reported a few making their way inside. Luckily, we have a snake wrangler over there as a teacher who doesn't mind doing that. I call in sick on those days. Other signs of life have been seen in the field. Bernie shared this picture with me from when he was mowing the field in 2017. These are killdeer, plover eggs, nestled in a shallow ground nest. He stopped what he was doing and marked off the area to protect it until the birds hatched. At first glance, all someone else might have seen was another obstacle in the field or something to slow him down from doing his job. But Bernie saw something worth protecting. Sometimes when we look at God's field, all we see are the weeds that have made their way in. But God sees so much more. Such is the kingdom of heaven. In this parable, Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is like someone who sowed good seed in the field, but while everyone was asleep, an enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat. So the workers weren't expecting that. If good seed had been planted, then surely good plants would grow. While they waited for the wheat to sprout, they slept. During that time, an enemy quietly scattered weeds among the wheat. And we all know what weeds do. They compete with healthy plants for water and nutrients. For farmers, weeds threaten both the harvest and their livelihood. Jesus' listeners would have immediately recognized what he was talking about. Ancient legal sources show that feuding rival farmers did secretly sow poisonous weeds in one another's fields. The particular weed Jesus likely had in mind was called darnel. Early on, it looked almost identical to wheat. No one could tell the difference. But by the time the plants matured, their roots had become so intertwined that pulling the weeds would also pull up the wheat. That is an incredibly cruel thing to do to another farmer. That isn't quite what we'd expect in the kingdom of heaven, that people would treat each other that way. If the kingdom of heaven is a place where God dwells, where God's presence is known and experienced, and where healing and hope overflows, we would expect people to treat each other with kindness and compassion. We would expect a field of healthy wheat. We would not expect it to be full of weeds. Remember, a few weeks ago, Jesus taught us that opposition and obstacles will always come. Even rivals with sabotaging behavior will try to reverse our efforts. So the workers really shouldn't have been surprised when the weeds appeared. Sometimes things like this happen when we aren't paying attention, when we're sleeping. So the master wasn't surprised. He knew weeds were there the whole time. He watched over the field when the workers were sleeping. What is surprising is the master's reaction to the weeds. When the workers see the weed problem, they immediately question him, "Master, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did these weeds come from?" Isn't that often our first response when something goes wrong? We ask God, "Did you do this? How did this happen?" We even blame God for allowing bad things to happen because it surely wasn't us who planted the weeds. But the master calmly replies, "An enemy has done this." The master understands what has happened. While the workers were sleeping, the master was never caught off guard. He sees the whole picture when they can only see the problem in front of them. The workers immediately offer a solution because we are so good at that. We are so good at offering God solutions. What we're better at is just jumping in and trying to solve the problem on our own without including God in the whole process. We think we know best. However, the workers do go to the master and ask, "Do you want us to go and gather them? Can we do your weeding for you?" Their question makes sense, but it does make me question their intentions. I mean, who really likes weeding? It's tedious and monotonous. And when you pull one weed, 3 grow back in its place, right? But perhaps the workers were trying to be helpful and useful to the master. They are working together on growing his field. Removing the weeds that could damage the wheat seems like a logical response. But they see the field differently than the master. The workers see weeds that need removing. The master sees something worth saving. Wait, the master says. Wait. If you gather the weeds, you would uproot the wheat along with them. Let them grow together until the harvest. The kingdom of heaven is revealed not in the existence of weeds, but in the patience and compassion of the master. In the importance of growing together and in trusting in the master's timing. The master knows something the workers do not. Beneath the surface, the roots have become intertwined. What looks like a simple solution would actually cause greater harm. The workers can only see what is above the ground, and the master knows what is happening underneath. And isn't that true of us as well? We see behavior. God sees a person's whole story. We see mistakes. God sees wounds. We see today. God sees grace still growing for tomorrow. We become very quick to pull weeds. We label people. We decide who is difficult, who is hopeless, who has failed one too many times, who doesn't belong, who will never change. The parable isn't inviting us to figure out who is wheat and who are weeds, although that's very easy for our minds to do that. In fact, Jesus never gives the servants permission to make that decision. He never gives them authority to divide and destroy. Instead, he tells them to wait, to trust the master. Only God sees the whole field. Only God sees what is happening beneath the surface. Only God knows how to bring about justice without destroying what is still growing. It's like Bernie's discovery in the field. He could have looked down and thought, I have to mow this field today and these eggs are in the way and I don't have time to deal with this. But instead he saw something worth protecting. He slowed down. He marked off the area. He made room for new life to continue growing. God does the same. When we see weeds that need removing, God sees wheat worth protecting. When we see problems, God sees possibilities. When we see failure, God sees grace still at work. Eventually, the wheat matured. At harvest time, the workers could finally distinguish the wheat from the darnel because of the fruit each plant produced. The wheat bore grain, the weeds did not. So Jesus teaches us again to look for the fruit from someone's life. Growing fruit takes time. Growing our faith takes our whole lives. We want immediate results. God teaches patience and trust. Perhaps that is why the master's response is so surprising to us. When we encounter a problem, we want to act now. But God says, wait. Keep growing. Keep trusting. I know a better way. Wait for my timing. The most surprising part in this parable is that the master refuses to give up on the wheat. He sees possibilities we cannot yet imagine. He sees grace at work long before anyone else notices. And that is good news. Not only for the people we are tempted to judge, but also for anyone who has had seasons when others might have looked at our lives and wondered if anything good could ever come from us. Yet God never gave up on us. God never stopped tending us. God never stopped believing that grace could bear fruit. God waited. God nurtured. God remained patient. Such is the kingdom of heaven. Amen.